So a lot of stuff's happening, but Afcon is trundling along, so I figured I'd give you an update on what was the round of 16 in Afcon that happened while I was battling my way out of quarantine. Which, in case you haven't noticed, I did manage to fight my way out of quarantine. It was kind of difficult. You know, I had to make some calls with the State Department, get my chopper flown out ahead of schedule. You know, they'd still closed it down. A few more countries to just, you know, a few more people that they were ready to kidnap. But I was like, yo, Delta Force, what's the Uber price? And it was surprisingly reasonable. You know, it was a little more than an Uber for the average distance, you know, and there's no pain in asking. So I'm glad I could catch a ride back up here. Afcon knockouts. Chalk. It's chalk. I'll say it. Most boring Afcon since I ever started paying attention to them. But it's about to change, right? Because there is the blessing and the curse of exciting tournaments, right? The blessing of lots of upsets, crazy tournament results-wise, is that you get a lot of drama. Early and often, surprises, big teams falling, right? You get a Comoros beating a Ghana, right? Which, I mean, crazy stuff. It happens. But the downside is, then you end up with, you know, Comoros playing a quarterfinal or something. Or Equatorial Guinea, who's been in the last couple of knockouts at the Afcon. You get those types of knockout matches, those types of teams. You get Burkina Faso making it all the way to the semifinals. You miss out on the big marquee matchups. The circle your calendar, best on best. These two teams are great, and who's going to be the greatest? You miss out on those. To be fair, sometimes I'm okay missing out on them because those matches sometimes turn into just shitfests where it's 0-0 or 1-1, and the quality of those two teams cancels each other out in a bad way. But then sometimes the World Cup final in 2022, you end up with the exact opposite, where best on best turns into great plays going in both directions. And the best matches that you really could ever have in these types of tournaments are two teams that everybody acknowledges are fantastically good, and they get to play against each other. Well, all of the chalk, all of the favored teams winning, it seems, consistently has produced that. But there is one agent of chaos that has made it. That agent of chaos was not Sudan. Give a lot of credit to Sudan. They came out and actually took a lead against Senegal, and for 23 glorious minutes, a nation that does not have, you know, a star foreign league player that's been in a civil war for multiple years was on the line of being able to knock out Senegal in the round of 16. Senegal, one of the, if not the favorite for the entire tournament. And then Senegal turned it around. Got 2 goals tucked in just before the half and found the winner found the kind of icing on the cake goal in the 77th minute to put it away, sending Senegal to the quarterfinals. But as I had predicted, Sudan did actually create some excitement. They were able to play a tough game. They got themselves involved. And as they pushed for an equalizer, they just, you know, it just wasn't to be. It just wasn't to be. And that's okay. Sometimes it just isn't. But it was for Mali. Because I said that it's been a lot of chalk and it's been a pretty boring tournament. This match was anything but boring. I found myself in a pool in Anguilla watching this on my phone because every time I was looking it up, something more ridiculous was happening. First of all, in the first 26 minutes, Tunisia and Mali gets a red card. Mali can't ever have nice things. They can't do anything normally, right? This is a team that chokes religiously, like their life depends on it. They will choke every single time, twice on Sunday. They show up, 26th minute red card. I'm going, okay, this is the type of match Tunisia takes advantage of. Tunisia's not the most talented team in Africa, but they're unbelievably consistent. Every time I talk about Tunisia, I'll tell you the exact same thing. You're probably sick of it if you watch all these videos, right? Tunisia they get the most out of their talent. They're consistent, great tactical identity. They play kind of anti-football in a lot of ways, but they're organized. They execute. They never concede, ever. And they, you know, go out and find their ways to score goals. They win matches in the margins. Mali goes down a player, and I'm thinking this is over. It screams a 60th minute winner for Tunisia to go up 1-0. It was actually later than that. 88th minute to Tunisia finally is able to break through. I saw some hilarious tweets. Shout out. And normally I try and stay off Twitter most of the time, but because I was starting to kind of bookmark tweets that had to do with this match, I was seeing a bunch of tweets in French about it, and it was really funny. Somebody said Tunisia actually hated Mali getting a red card because that meant Tunisia had to actually come out and play the sport of football, which gives you an idea of how other African nations think about playing against Tunisia and their organization, and definitely not the sexiest or most fun team to watch play. But they score in the 88th minute, and that creates a lot of, drama and kind of an explosive celebration. They're up a man, up a goal, and then all of a sudden in the 96th minute, Sinayoko gets a penalty. And this penalty was nearly saved. It was one of those where the guy dove the right way, just didn't get enough of his hands on it, and he sent it into the side netting instead of around the post. The goal sends it to extra time. And then we go to a penalty shootout where these two teams that played a whole lot of anti-football turned into a nightmare. Okay, first of all, Tunisia scored the opening goal. Then Yves Bissouma misses for Mali, so Tunisia's up 1-0 already. Tunisia then shows up and misses. Sinayoko comes in and scores his second penalty of the match. That ties us at 1 after 2. Third take, Tunisia makes, Mali misses. So for the second time in this shootout, Tunisia is up in this penalty shootout. Up 1-0, up 2-1 after 3 penalties, and they blow it again. This one is saved. Diakite scores. We are tied at 2. To the 5th penalty, where it is once again missed by Tunisia, who again, how many times do you see a team go ahead twice in a penalty shootout and lose? Because that's what we're looking at right here. They go ahead a second time, and then El Bilal Touré scores to send Mali through to the quarterfinals. After which, the head coach of Mali, a dude whose name I do not know, Mali national team head coach, Tom Samphe. I'm just going to try and Frenchify that a little bit because he's Belgian. He came out and said that he doesn't believe that somebody needs to win a match in 90 minutes in order to be the Afcon champions. Because the best part about all of this is Mali, of course, went all the way to a penalty shootout, which means Mali has played 4 matches at Afcon. They've drawn all 4. Right? This was a penalty shootout win to go to the quarterfinals. They've played 4 matches. They have not won any of them on the field in 90 minutes, or in 120 for that matter, when they were given the opportunity. Granted, they were down a player for literally over 90 minutes of this match, so I don't necessarily blame them for this one. But Mali has now made it to the last 8 without having won a match. They have 4 matches, 4 draws. They won a penalty shootout, and they are now waiting for Senegal in the quarterfinal. They are the agent of chaos. They are the only team left that has never won an African championship. They are not only a team that's never won an African championship, a team that has immense talent. Incredibly talented team relative to your average African nation. They've never been to the World Cup. They have never been able to put it together for one reason or another. You put player v. player up, Mali against Cape Verde or something, the Angola team that went to the World Cup, the Togo team that went to the World Cup, Mali's better than those teams. Mali's never been. They choke. They choke every time. They find a way. But now they're kind of reverse engineering that science with the 4 draws to the quarterfinal. More power to them. Creates an exciting atmosphere. The next day of matches, Morocco and Tanzania. I'm going to give full credit to Tanzania here. They hung around. But the flip side of this is Morocco is nervous. They're nervous as fuck. You can tell. Because Morocco has not won an African championship since 1976. But they have become the first African team ever to make a semifinal at a World Cup. They are now hosting the tournament. They're the favorites, they're the hosts, and they haven't won it in forever. This is like the sort of nauseating, nosebleed-inducing pressure that Messi used to deal with at every Copa America for Argentina. It's like, dude, you gotta get one. Morocco hasn't in 50 years. And now they're playing Tanzania in the first hour. Tanzania is sticking them. Tanzania, a team that got 2 points in the group stage and was the last team into the knockouts via a 3rd place spot. Now, they've, vastly improved, but this is a team that has never won a match at Afcon before. And, they were never really threatening the Morocco goal. They had a penalty shout here or there. But Morocco just couldn't find a way through. They looked like Manchester City, the way Man City plays when it's not going well for Manchester City. That's what this match felt like for Morocco. I am not confident that they're going to be able to see this out. Now, survive and advance. Every match at Afcon is a tough one, right? There's a lot of variety in where the players come from and tactical styles, and it's hard to get a good profile of the teams you're playing against. There's so many decent teams in Africa, Tanzania obviously being one of them. But, for Tanzania, this was a great run. a truly great run that will help them build the game in Tanzania. And for Morocco, it was survival. It was a magic moment by Brahim Diaz and a shot that honestly probably should have been saved by the goalkeeper. He got fooled. He thought that Brahim Diaz was crossing the ball, and Brahim just ripped it right at him, and it kind of like went right through that spot right there. So Morocco is able to survive and advance. Cameroon, another team that's not going to the World Cup that has found a win here. South Africa, predictably disappointing. It's kind of what they do, although they finally managed to make it back to a World Cup for the first time since hosting. So that's going to be a very exciting time for them this summer. As for now, they're out. They scored a late goal that tried to pull this back, but Cameroon jumped on them either side of halftime. The Indomitable Lions are just one of the old, great African national teams. They are certainly not at their best right now. They lost their qualifying group to Cape Verde, but they're still there. Like, the old giant still has swings in South Africa. Just honestly, sometimes you lose. Sometimes you lose, right? South Africa's at a high water mark, but Cameroon just had that. They had the edge. They had that cutting edge. And they were more than happy to invite South African pressure, particularly in the second half. They just didn't think they were going to be able to do anything with it, and they were right. So Cameroon goes through, and that is the next team that Morocco has to face. And Morocco's not going to be getting any more Tanzanias, right? No offense to Tanzania, who obviously has come a long way in the last 15 years. Cameroon's a whole different kettle of fish, to borrow a phrase from the announcer of the Mali-Tunisia game on the local African station that I was definitely legally streaming. Cameroon talent through the team. Not as talented as they normally are. Still, the type of talent that makes it a lot more difficult for Brahim Diaz to just sneak a shot in. So that could be nerve-wracking. Algeria against DR Congo. DR Congo's very good. They're the favorite in the Intercontinental Playoff. They should be at the World Cup if everything goes according to plan in the betting odds. Algeria, coming off a very disappointing 4 years for the national team. They don't want to be the team that's left out here, right? North Africa's having a party. Tunisia's already been knocked out, but you got Egypt, right, who's going to be playing later on in this as I run through the results. You've got Morocco, right? The North African teams are showing out. They're competing. This is a great match. This was a great match. It was tight, low chance, but Algeria found an amazing goal. A really genuinely beautiful goal. Cutting in on the edge of the box, like right-footed Arjen Robben type stuff, right into the top corner in the 119th minute for a guy who came in 6 minutes earlier as a sub. Couldn't dream up a better substitution to send Algeria through. DR Congo is definitely a dark horse to be able to go win this whole thing. Looking at a team that beat Nigeria in the World Cup playoffs in Africa not that long ago. So this is a very good win for Algeria, even if you go get it in the 119th minute. Speaking of very good wins, Ivory Coast wiped the floor with Burkina Faso, a notoriously difficult African team in the Afcon. You know, they've made the semifinals of this tournament multiple times very recently. And so Ivory Coast, just another sign of how far they've come, you know, from being the team that missed the World Cup to being the team that, you know, finished third in their group and then firing their coach and magically winning Afcon and making the World Cup without conceding a goal. And now they're back. I mean, they're the defending champs. They're trying to go back to back as the best team in Africa. And they delivered a big uppercut to the jaw on Burkina Faso, the type of team that if you're not on your game, they will punish you. The other two matches were Nigeria against Mozambique. I've obviously talked about this match in other videos. You had Victor Osimhen going buck wild. You had the Nigerian national team being all weird. But hey, Mozambique's a team that won a match at this tournament. You go out there and beat them 4-0. Hell, Nigeria couldn't score 4 goals in 4 matches in World Cup qualifying. Now they're taking on one of the better African teams, a team that I would say is comfortably better than Tanzania at the moment, and they beat them 4-0 on the big stage in the round of 16, you know, knockouts at Afcon. Nigeria's fixed. I mean, as much as there's chaos and nonsense and insanity going on, they've fixed whatever problems they had. The whole we didn't make the World Cup thing, the whole we're drawing against Lesotho and Rwanda, that's gone. They're back. And if they're back, their talent can stand up to anybody in the entire continent, and they have a chance to win like an Italy-style Afcon where, you know, you win it, but you're not a World Cup team. And then there was Egypt and Benin. Funny one, before the match, Benin's official account tweeted out some Beninese guy dressed kind of like an Egyptian ruler with a whip up against, you know, Mo Salah. It was very weird. Egypt scored in the 69th minute. Benin pulled it back in the 83rd. I was really happy to see this, honestly, from Benin. They're the type of team that gets good results against bad African teams, but is not. I have not seen their ability with all the cards on the table, like a Sudan, like a Burkina Faso, on an even better level. With all the cards on the table to be able to threaten a top African team, they did that in this match. They hung with Egypt. They battled with Egypt. It was an early extra time goal that kind of opened the game up, and then obviously you're chasing the match late. Mo Salah gets in alone. But Benin was totally in this match. The margin in this match was not wide. Benin kept it tight, and they had a chance, if shots go differently, to actually be able to win this. So big steps forward for Benin, a forgotten West African nation that nearly made this past World Cup in a huge surprise turn of events, only to get destroyed by Nigeria with everything on the line, which, at the time looked bad for Benin. Now it looks like Nigeria might just be like that again. Anyways, it all sets up a knockout that includes, and this is true, by the way, every single pot one team in Afcon. When I'm talking about it being chalk, it means all the best teams are winning. So every single pot one team, all 6 of them, have made it to the knockouts. Not only to the knockouts, but they've made it to the quarterfinals. And the only other 2 teams are both from pot 2. So, this is the favorites. Mali obviously probably wouldn't be the number 1 favorite. You probably would have said that it'd be Tunisia, but they were both pot 2 teams coming into this. So take it or leave it. Talent-wise, you could honestly make an argument that Mali is a better team in the first place. It just doesn't feel like it because they never make it to anything or even do what they're doing right now, making the quarterfinals of Afcon. They're always the roster looks pretty good, dark horse, and then they never do anything. This is a nice run for Mali to get to the quarterfinal, and they're clearly bringing Haram Ball with them. They've got a coach that said, I don't think you need to win in 90 minutes to be African champion. These guys are going in there, pickaxes, helmets, ready for war, ready to dig in, ready to do whatever it takes. Senegal is going to have to find a way through. They're going to have to find a way to win that match. And to be honest, they did it against Sudan. Mali's going to be a better version of that, but Senegal already has the recipe. Egypt, Ivory Coast, Algeria, Nigeria, Cameroon, Morocco. We're getting North Africa against West Africa, North Africa against Central Africa in Cameroon's case. We're getting the showdowns. It's 2 sides of the coin. You get a chalk tournament without a lot of upsets, without a lot of excitement in terms of the results. That is going to lead to a quarterfinal that gives you all of the best matchups, all of the best teams playing each other, and it starts today. And it's going to be really exciting. Who the hell do I think is going to win? Obviously Mali. They're going to draw their way there and win 4 penalty shootouts. Tell me I'm wrong.